What should the women's Crush to Dust challenge numbers be? Alan and Riccardo talked about this, but we want to know your thoughts on episode 38 of This Week in Grip.
All right, everybody. Well, this is episode 38 of This Week in Grip. Jedd will be absent from us this week, so it's just myself and Riccardo taking over. We were initially hoping to have a bit of a discussion about a current topic that was coming up on the Northwest Grip Enthusiast group. It was about the Women's Crush to Dust certification. It sounds like there's some interest in putting together a Women's Crush to Dust challenge. And we were hoping to have a little debate about what everybody, I guess, thought was the original or the best opening weights for the women's challenge. So I was actually trying to dig out do you have the current Crush to Dust rules? I'm looking for it right now. Okay.
Yeah, I know what for men, yeah. I mean, I know what they are.
Yes. I was just looking for the formal sheet. So to give everybody an idea, in case people aren't familiar with the Crush to Dust challenge, for the men's, it's closing from a credit card set, a number 2 gripper, lifting 45 pounds on the Iron Mine hub, and lifting 200 pounds on the Rolling Thunder deadlift handle. So
right, all in a time period of and I don't remember if it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but you have you can't take all day for this one. You got to bust it out.
Right. I do think it was, as a matter of fact, I think it was 3 or 5 minutes. I'm actually trying to find that on their formal rules right now, but I'm actually not seeing it.
I'm pretty sure it's 3 minutes, but that's fine. But the point is, you got 3 feet of Iron Mind equipment. You want to be certified by Iron Mind, you got to get it done in 3 minutes under official circumstances with an official judge there. So
that is correct. Yes. All right. So to date, there hasn't been a women's Crush to Dust challenge. So that's what they're looking to establish. So I believe it was John Clark Eklund that had brought up the discussion in the Northwest Grip Enthusiast group about what good weights would be for women. It looked like the consensus going into this, a number of the stronger ladies that we have in grip, it looked like they agreed at present anyway on a number 1 gripper, 35 pounds on the Iron Mine hub, and then 100 pounds on the Rolling Thunder handle. So, Riccardo, what were your thoughts on what they came up with as far as
I think that's very fair. We haven't had a ton of competitors in the California Fit Expo. I have had the pleasure of watching, a superstar Amy Waddles lift a couple of times. Kim Eck is very strong. I've seen her lift several times. So, but there haven't been a ton of women competitors. I understand this year at the LA Fit Expo, there's going to be more female competitors. But yeah, I feel like those are very achievable numbers for a strong female that lifts weights, a number 1 gripper. I think a lot of number 1s, what are they rating, Alan? Around 70 pounds?
Yep. I'm looking at one right now. It looks like 78 pounds is one that I have.
So 70 to 80 pounds on a number 1, and I think that's about half of a number 3. So I think that's definitely doable by a female that lifts weights. The hub, I've seen many, many women lift 30 pounds on a hub. So 35, 30, 15 kilos, whatever. I think that's a very achievable weight. And then, I think the limiting factor for a lot of them is going to be just the Rolling Thunder, just like it is on the regular Crush to Dust, I think. But 100 pounds we don't want everyone to certify. It's got to mean something. So I think that's a fine weight choice. 50 kilos, okay. 45 kilos, something in there I think is a very that's a stout number. Most women in the gym, you're going to give them that much, they couldn't pick it up.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I like those numbers. I think that's fine.
Yeah, when I was originally looking at that, and I didn't get to see any of the final discussion until just today, but initially going into it, I liked the idea of the number one gripper, and 35 pounds on the hub also seemed like a good number, and it was the Rolling Thunder that I struggled with. I was trying to think of a part of where I was going with that was actually putting a number to something. Like when we have for the men's Crush to Dust Challenge, for example, we have 200 pounds that we're pulling on that handle. But I always wondered what exactly that number was referring to. It was almost like it was pulled out of the air, if you will. Where we have the inch dumbbell that weighs 172. I just was never quite sure where the 200 came from.
Well, I can probably tell you. I think that's the cutoff for, what I think a lot of people on Rolling Thunder consider a very strong lift. I think when we have our competitions, especially in the last man standing format, Alan, after 90 kilos, a lot of people drop off. It's just the reality. They disappear quickly. And it comes to a quick pyramid. Usually somewhere between 110 and 125 kilos is our winner, depending on who shows up at these Fit Expos. And once, like last year in the Rolling Thunder World Championships, which I competed in, I got 10th.
So yeah, you were talking about the cutoff weights and where you were at. You came in 10th place, I believe, is what you were saying.
Last year I came in 10th with a lift of 90, and I almost made 95. And I just think that's in my experience, having competed in a number of these Fit Expos with some really strong guys, there's some really strong 300-pound strongmen that can't always do 90 kilos. It's not a slam dunk for them. So
Sure.
If they're not experienced with the implement and they haven't done a lot of thick bar work, or they use a lot of straps in their training, 90 is not a guarantee for anyone. So
right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's a good weight, to be honest. I think it's a good weight.
Sure. Yeah, I was thinking initially when I first looked at it, I was thinking I had 125 pounds in my head. That's what I was thinking on the Rolling Thunder. And that was based around a previous discussion about what would compare to the inch dumbbell in terms of, with regards to a women's inch dumbbell.
Right.
And but then in following along in the discussion a little bit more, though, I really wasn't so sure that was the way to go. I thought that was kind of almost a little lopsided. I actually, in the end, liked the idea of the 100 pounds a little bit better, because I think the number one gripper, 35 pounds on the hub, and the 100-pound on the Rolling Thunder, I think that kind of balances things out quite nicely, actually. That makes things a pretty even fit. In the men's Crush to Dust, where we have the number two gripper, 45 pounds on the hub, and then 200 pounds on the Rolling Thunder, we run into a scenario where a lot of guys can hit that number two gripper and the 45-pound hub and can't even touch the 200 pounds on the Rolling Thunder. And that's the class I fall into. So I think the numbers that the women came up with are actually, I think it's really well balanced. I think it'll require some specific training, but in the end, I actually think it's a pretty equal feat. Is kind of, I completely agree with them in the end after looking at that and reading some of that commentary. So yeah, I think you were spot on with what your thought. 110 is probably not a bad number either, but 100 seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it is reasonable because, at the end of the day, I think the women's grip is in its infancy. I think we want to promote more competitors rather than less. And, hey, let's go ahead and congratulate the people who are excellent right now. And who's excellent now in 5 years, they might look at this Crush to Dust and think, oh, it's puny. But you got to start somewhere, and let's set the bar somewhere and see people exceed it. It's fine with me.
Right. I hope it goes somewhere. A few different people had weighed in on it. I know Kim Eklund had weighed in. Amy Waddles had. Becca Roberts had. I'm not sure if Maria Bisquetta got in on that or not, and who else. But it seemed like a pretty fair consensus. And I think John Eklund was going to pass that on to Iron Mind and see about getting something formal going. So, I'm going to see Randy Strawson in a week and a half at the Fit Expo, so I have no problem discussing it with him in person. Obviously, I know him quite well, so I have no problem discussing with him. I may send him a preemptive email later today, and we can talk in person. But, yeah, I think there's
that would be a great way to kick off 2018 with a women's Crush the Dust challenge. I think that would be a fantastic way to begin.
I agree. Yep. So good for those guys to bring it up.
Maybe we'll even start it at the Fit Expo. Who knows? Stay tuned. Read the Iron Mind News, Alan. Take a peek and we'll see what he says.
I do stay on top of that, as a matter of fact. I hadn't seen a whole lot grip-related recently, as a matter of fact. I think the last thing I looked at on there had a picture of Brian Shaw on it, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they have some Fortissimus strongman rankings of all time. The Canadian guy, Paul Ohl, made some Fortissimus strongman rankings. A very interesting calculation he used to rank some strongmen. So, pretty interesting.
I see. Sure.
Well, okay. What else? You get any grip toys for Christmas, Alan? Without Jedd, we gotta spice it up a little bit here. Any grip toys for Christmas?
No grip toys. I just did a lot of carb loading, though.
Oh,
I don't know about you.
Were you a bad boy?
I was.
Oh.
And unless it was in somebody's hand or mouth already, every cookie I saw, I ate. So, I couldn't resist.
I'm on the opposite scope of the spectrum because I am cutting down to the 100-kilo class for LA, and I will tell you that I did get a Christmas present on Christmas morning. I got some grip stuff, but besides that, I weighed in at 99.8 kilos on Christmas morning. So I'm right there at about 100 kilos, 11 days out from the contest. So I feel good about that. So,
and what do you need to get down to?
100. I'm here right now.
Perfect.
So,
yep.
Yeah, so just for comparison, I was 237 in Anaheim in August for that weigh-in. So now I'm essentially, yesterday I was 219.7. So I've lost almost 20 pounds, and my strength has gone up during this training cycle. So
good. That's definitely contrary to popular belief. Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Congratulations.
Well, no cookies for me, Alan. So none, and I'm not exaggerating. Zero carbohydrates right now. So, but it's working fantastic. I'm losing fat and gaining strength and feel great. So, but I did get from Gail over at Barrel Strength. It looks like I did not get any coal in my stocking. In fact, I got the 2-inch and 2.5-inch trilobite for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice.
I did, and I can tell you with quite a bit of certainty that is a very, very spinny handle. Probably the spinniest one I've ever used.
It is.
Of course, did you already own them, Alan?
I have the 2.5-inch trilobite, and I didn't pull the trigger in time for the 2-inch. But it is. I agree. It is a very spinny handle. But for some reason, have you had a chance to play with that yet?
Well, of course. What do you think Christmas morning workout is for? It's for using the new Christmas toys, Alan. Come on. I put it in there. I've even used our hashtag This Week in Grip for that one. So I worked up to, and again, understand I have the contest in a couple of less than 2 weeks. So I did not take a maximum, but I worked up to I would say 85 to 90% single, and I did 77.5 kilos for a full lift. And I'm not talking about using the little high jump standards in the pin. For a full deadlift, did 77.5 kilos or 170, almost 171. And I think there's 10 to 20 pounds in the tank on a full deadlift left. You can go on Instagram later and watch it. Yeah, I'm peaking at the right time right now. So, I don't remember. I know Tanner just did 213. I saw him do that on the trilobite, the 2.5-inch trilobite. Do you recall when Jared still had the website up there, what was the top lifts on the 2.5-incher?
No, I don't. I don't recall, actually. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'll get a hold of Jared tonight and see if I can find out. I already asked Gil, and he said he would look, but he's probably busy with Christmas stuff and didn't get a chance to get back to me. But I was
anxious to hear what your thoughts were, because between what you could pull on the 2.5-inch trilobite versus the 2.5-inch crusher, for me, I was actually able to, and I was surprised, but I was able to pull more on the trilobite handle than I was on the crusher.
It's interesting. Mine are close. My crushers probably, I would say, and again, I'm not maxing out on those things, but before King Kong, I was expecting to do between 82.5 and 85 kilos on the 2.5-inch crusher. And I think my grip has increased since King Kong. So, 85 kilos is 187. So I think I could do into the 190s right now. And this is for the lift with the stick, the 6-inch lift.
Sure.
And I did 171 with a full lift yesterday on Christmas. So, and it was no maximum. So I would think, I think this one is about 10 pounds for me harder than the 2.5-inch crusher. But the interesting thing is, I think the wrist is worked differently with the heavier implement, right? So with the heavier implement, your wrist has to stay cocked. It's a little bit of a different feel. They all feel different. Rolling Thunder, the crushers, they all feel a little bit different. But I think when there's more weight in your hand, I think the crusher is maybe better for the inch dumbbell, because that spin and rotation the inch dumbbell has, the crusher, because the heavier weight into your hand, is maybe more stimulating that. And then the trilobite is maybe a little bit better for Rolling Thunder, because that's also a light handle. That's my 2 cents, only using the trilobite the one time so far. But I loved it. I love the fact that it spins so fast. I thought you really got to squeeze to resist that spin. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Good.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I was real curious your input on it.
Well, do you consider that you have strong wrists or strong fingers, or are they about the same?
I guess I would say my fingers are stronger than my wrists. Would be my assessment.
As are mine, for sure. But my wrist strength is improving. I've really been working on it, and really been working hard on it. And that's one of the reasons why my thick bar is increasing so much. And I think the bigger the diameter of the handle, the more the wrist is involved.
I would agree, yes.
And I think you'll see with your really strong, heavy dumbbell lifters, or your really strong, heavy rolling handle lifters, they have very strong wrists. I'll give you a perfect example. Last Thursday, I trained with Clay Edgin at Santa Cruz Strength. Fantastic facility, by the way, Alan. If you're ever in Santa Cruz on vacation, when you make your big California trip, I know you're planning that daily. But when you come out here, you got to stop in Santa Cruz. You and your wife can get some nice seafood on the boardwalk. I think they have cookies there, too, if you're curious.
Awesome,
and then,
awesome.
After you're done eating some cookies and seafood or fish and chips or whatever you like, the clam chowder, fantastic, by the way. After you're done with that, you go to Clay's gym, or you eat after Clay's gym. Clay is a pretty strong man, and he did a very noteworthy 70-kilo lift on the 3-inch crusher. So that's 154, and that moves into third of all time, and that's the first time he's ever touched it. So,
nice.
Yeah, and I pulled a pretty nice 145.1, moving me into fifth of all time on the list. I actually passed some really strong guys, including Juha Harju, of all people. So, yeah,
sure.
And there's another, his best is 144 on Andrew's list there. So, I'm at 145.1.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So, and just for reference, Andrew Derniat is the record holder at 176, 80 kilos. And I can tell you that if Clay shells out some money and buys one and practices, Clay will have a very good chance to break that record. He did the 70 kilos very strongly. You can look on his Instagram, and he did it very strongly. First time touching it, very impressive. I was impressed. And again, he picks up the inch dumbbell easily. So there you go. He's got that kind of wrist horsepower needed to lift big weights right there.
Right. I've been following him lately, watching some of his lifts. It seemed like he had stepped away from the grip game for a little while, and I'm not sure what exactly that was, or if maybe I just hadn't been following him. But it seemed like he was gone and has kind of come back rather strong, actually, in a lot of these lifts. Haven't seen much gripper work, which I think he was known for quite some time there. But
I think if you check, Alan, I'll give you a little late Christmas present, Alan. Go on his Instagram and check. I brought some grippers for him to try, and he mashed soundly. A GHP 8, 170-pound rated by Canon PowerWorks, and he had a parallel set, and then he absolutely mashed the thing, and I videoed it from 2 feet away. So, and he put that on his Instagram. That was one of his highlights. So if you consider a 170, Mash Monster said gripper close good, then I think he's there for you.
Yeah. Yep. No question. Where is he on the Mash Monster ladder? Actually, do you recall? Was he not MM5, 4 or 5? I thought he was up there pretty high.
I'm sure he was. I wasn't really even competing in grip during that part of maybe his certification and stuff. He and I have become very good friends over the last year. We went to Russia together this May and competed in the APL World Championships. And so when you spend, 18 of 24 hours a day with a guy for like 3 days in a row, you get to know him pretty well. So he and I mean, we ate every meal together. We spent a lot of time, maybe separated by bathroom breaks. I mean, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, because when you're in a strange country and, a lot of people don't speak English, I mean, you don't really stray very far away from the people who you know. So we spent a ton of time together and had a lot of laughs, had a great time, and some very good lifts for both of us. And so he and I have been become very good friends. And so he's been bugging me to come up there and train with him and his crew. And so since I'm a high school teacher and I have, a 3-week Christmas break, I thought right before the Fit Expo would be a perfect time to tune up and to go over there. So
Right.
We had a great session. And then we used Jedd's new device, that Napalm's Nightmare. I introduced that to Clay and his crew, and they love the thing. I'm sure he's going to buy one. They loved it. And I really, to do a shameless plug for Jedd, the device is fantastic. It's really helped me raise my deadlift. Do you have one, Alan? One of the Napalm's Nightmares?
I don't actually, and that's something that's on the wish list. I just had, truthfully, that's one of those things where it's like there's so many new grip toys popping up all the time. It's just hard to stay on top of it and which one I want to get and when. So, but
right.
that's definitely one that's on the list. I think I would probably have to get the 2-inch and the 2 3/8-inch handles for it,
Correct.
and be covered that way. But
that's what I got for sure. Yeah.
It looks really nice, and it was especially appealing to me, the pull height and then potentially the rolling action and even the hand positioning of it. What I see on some of the guys on the videos, it seems like a lot of people when they want to pull on the axle deadlift, I think I've seen you do this too. Your hand spacing is actually pretty close, and that seems to fall in line with the Napalm's Nightmare. So that was kind of a selling point for me.
Well, so, I like it is that a lot of overload the grip, which is kind of the whole point, right, in developing a strong, thick bar. Overload the grip in a way where you can, because the weight is centered between you can do it more frequently because your back and hamstrings and legs don't get fried. So it's right. A little bit more of a trap bar type deadlift versus a real, regular deadlift with with the bar on front of you, be it conventional or sumo. So you can train more frequently, and as you know from following me, Alan, I do like to train frequently. That seems to work real well for me. And so the other thing I like is you don't just pull off the floor. I stand on various blocks so I can get a farther pull. So it's almost like doing a power rack deadlift. I don't want to put my Iron Mind axle in the power rack because it's going to get bent and nasty, and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
So it allows a lot of versatility. As you mentioned, you can change the size of the handles. When I go to Finland, I've been using mainly the 2-inch handle. Some 2 3/8, but I would say 3 out of 4 workouts I've been using 2-inch handle because I'm really working on my 2-inch axle deadlift for Los Angeles, and I've made some wonderful progress. But when I go to Finland, we're actually going to be pulling on a 60-millimeter axle. So I can tell you I'm going to be doing a ton of 2 3/8 from the LA Fit Expo and forward because I really need to raise my 2 3/8 axle lift to be competitive with the big boys overseas.
Sure. Do you have an Andrews axle?
I don't have the official one. I have a simulated one made by some friends who are welders. So as a teacher, we have a welding class at school, and one of my friends is a welding teacher, so his kids make me projects from time to time. So
sure.
One of their, and he actually uses it like as their final exams, like they have to custom design projects. And so I had to make, I have a 2 3/8 in the axle that they made to my specifications, and And in fact, I used it yesterday on Christmas as well, to be honest. Pulled a 5 PR after I used the Trilobite. So yeah.
You've got an R&D department at your disposal then at the school. Boy, you got the best of both worlds.
I do.
You could just have them whip you up all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, and you know what? It's great for the kids. The kids love to see the stuff in action. They love to see the weights, and they. But sometimes you got to get the original toys, and especially if you want to, compare your actual lift to someone else's. And so I have a bunch of prototypes and stuff that they've made for me that's been great to get started. But now as I'm get, a little more serious and maybe be considered, if you go to the event's one of the top guys there, you need to have the real deal.
Right, right. Yep, I agree completely. Nice, nice. Well, it's cool that you got something like that out there, though. That was something I was always trying to start. 3:41,
do you need to go right now, or do you have a few more minutes?
I have a few more minutes, yep.
Okay. Well, sorry, I cut you off right there, dude. I would just check the time and just want to make sure you're good.
No, that was always something I wished I could better source. I was always thinking about going around to the local high schools or even the tech schools and seeing if they'd want to take on some projects like that, because in my mind, some of those places you pay for the materials and, it's you kind of, free labor out of the deal, pretty sweet little setup. I kind of have a local machine shop do some of my work for me when I want some kind of one-off stuff made up. And it's high quality, it's real professional, but you definitely pay for it.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, I give the kids some money. I mean, they earn it. So everyone wins. It's a win-win for everyone. They can go buy a couple burritos or whatever and go buy some hamburgers or whatever they do. And, and they're proud that their work is made. I live in the town I live in. Santa Maria is an agriculture town. So a lot of times they need welders to go out like in the middle of the field and fix the tractor. Something snapped off the tractor. It's stuck in mud. You got to go weld that thing out there in the mud. So these kids need to have those kind of improvisational skills, if that's a career they're considering, so that they can be ready for the work world. You know what I mean? I mean, you work in a heating and ventilation job. I'm sure there's been times you've had to fix stuff right there on the fly. You can't take it back to the workshop. You got to get it done right there.
That's how it always is, actually. Yeah. Yep.
Well, there you go. So you live it every. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yep. No, that's real good. I like that. That's a good concept you've got going there. So I'd take full advantage of that.
Yeah. So yeah, the kids know when I show up, they're like ready for a project. So it's fun. It's fun.
Yep.
So I don't know if you saw this, but if we want to cover quick feet real quick, did you see one of my main guys in Finland, Jesse Pignonian? Did you see his lifting he did on Christmas yesterday?
No, I missed it.
While wearing a polar bear hat. Well, it was a pretty ridiculous. First of all, last week Arto Gironin and Tommy Tuomi, last week they had a little 4-hour gripathon and at their gym there in Heinola, Finland, and they were lifting blobs, curling blobs. Tommy Tuomi lifted the biggest dumbbells they have over there in Finland, way bigger than inch dumbbells. But Jesse, he got crazy yesterday on Christmas, so he broke the world record for the Rolling Thunder pull-up in training.
For the Rolling Thunder pull-ups?
Yeah, Thomas Larson has done a 341 Rolling Thunder pull-up, or 340, I think it is, 154 kilos. Jesse decided that wasn't enough, and so he did 169 kilos. That's 372.
Added to his body weight.
No, total body weight.
Total body weight.
Total human plus weight.
Wow.
Larson's record is 340, and Jesse did 372.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
It was fairly strict. Yeah, it's fairly strict. A little bit of a hip. Kip, minimal. It was very strong. Now it doesn't count because it's not in an official capacity, but that was ridiculous.
Right. And this was during their 4-hour gripathon. So
that was afterwards. That was just Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas training after the gripathon. Different
Nice.
day. The grip and
Nice.
sign was last week. That was this week.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, wow, that's a solid number. Yeah, I wish I had caught that because I think that would probably take feet of the week. I had something different picked out. But
you need to go on you should subscribe at the very least when you get some spare time. Subscribe to Jesse's channel. I think he's the up-and-coming future star of grip. I know King Kong didn't go exactly the way he planned, but I think he's going to be almost unbeatable here real soon.
Right. Yep. No, I have seen his stuff, some of the stuff he posts on Facebook. But actually, what is his YouTube?
His name is Jesse Pignoni. It's his full name.
Okay.
You search Jesse and then P-Y-N, it should come up. Space.
Okay.
Jesse space and then P-Y-N for his spelling the first three letters of his last name. It should pop up and you'll see. It was unreal. That pull-up was ridiculous.
I'm just trying to search for that right now. I want to make sure because, I'd like to. Oh, yep, there he is. Sure enough. Nice.
Yeah. Why don't you read the title of that? Because he also did pretty good on the pinch block. He almost broke the world record on the pinch block in training, too, yesterday.
Oh, really? What did he hit?
He had 49 kilos, and I think the record by Harry Talonen is 49.6. Maybe it's 48.6. And then he got 50.6 off the ground, but no, not even close to lockout. But he moved. So
was it really that high on that? I didn't realize that record was up there that high.
Oh yeah, they broke it at the Sawa Open. Harry Talonen broke it 2 times. He did 47.6 and 48.6, and so Pignoni either broke it or equaled it in training yesterday. He was real close, and then he did the pull-up. So
yeah, I'm just scrolling to this right now.
That's why I'm telling you, Alan. That's why I want to go to Finland, and I'm doing that Sawa Open in June. I know we haven't talked about it much, but it's drug-tested meat, and I want to mix it up with the best guys that I can find, and a lot of them live in Finland. So
yeah, yeah, no doubt.
It's going to be a savage contest, and I don't know if you know too, but Big Brian is coming out with me. Brian Hunsaker is coming out too.
Oh, no kidding! No, I hadn't heard that.
Finland.
I hadn't heard that at all. Nice.
Yeah, so we'll be the first 2 Americans to ever compete in Finland. No one has ever competed in Finland in grip before of Americans. So
I'll be darned.
It's going to be a clash of the Titans at this one. It's going to. These guys email me every day. It's been fantastic communicating with these guys. I love it.
Yeah, no, I'd imagine. Wow, that's exciting that Brian Hunsaker's going too. I had no idea. I hadn't actually seen much from him on Instagram lately. He usually posts just some
family stuff for Christmas. He's got little kids. My kids are teenagers now, so it's not the same where you taking pictures with Santa Claus every 5 minutes or whatever.
Right. Well, every time he shows up someplace, he lifts something huge. That's for sure. So
that's for sure. That's you hit the nail on the head with that one, Alan. Yeah, he's a big, strong man for sure. So
say, my runner-up for feat of the week. I don't know if you caught Tanner Merkel's Blobzilla domination.
I did. I did see it. It was ridiculous. It almost embarrassing. And let me tell you, Alan, because I have a Blobzilla in my garage right now. So being the nice guy that I am, Thomas Larson in Norway bought a Blobzilla from Nate Browse. They shipped it to me, and I'm going to take it to my flight goes from LAX to Oslo in Norway, and then I go from Norway to Helsinki in Finland when I'm going to Finland. So I'm going to bring this monster to Larson, and then when I'm in Oslo, he's going to meet me at the airport and get it for me in June. Well, I don't even know how these guys pick this thing up, Alan. It is so big, it's ridiculous.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
I have one. I'm putting my hand on it right now, and that is my agreement as well. I don't know how they lift it. I can't get any kind of a purchase on this thing. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I don't have small hands. I have 8-inch hands, which is kind of average for grip, right? I mean, I'm 6'3", I have size 13 or 14 feet. I'm not a tiny guy. But these guys who lift this thing, I mean, I think the key is, like Jedd, who's really good at blobs, their thumb has to be super long to get more just just surface area downward towards the middle of that blob. I mean, Tanner has huge hands too. I think Brian Shaw's lifted it, and of course he's a huge human being. Wide Pinch has really monstrous hands. Thomas Larson, huge, gigantic hands. So, he told me the measurement, and I was astounded. So, he has almost 9-inch hands.
Oh, wow. Okay.
8.9 inches.
That is ridiculous. I'm a 7.5 kind of guy.
Yeah, Alan. I mean, if you lifted that thing, and I'm not trying to be condescending or mean at all, if you lifted that Blobzilla with 7.5-inch hands, that would be the feat of the century for grip, and everyone else should just retire, because I think geometrically it's not possible with hands that aren't big enough to get enough of a grip on the thing. I don't think it's possible. It's so big. And the people, there's a bunch of people pricing, Riccardo, you being negative. Dude, they haven't seen one. I was shocked how big it was when, I took a picture of it when I sent it to Thomas next to my regular, York blob, and the thing makes it look like a 2.5-pound plate. It's just so big.
I would be curious some of the stats about some of the guys that have lifted this, because as I'm putting my hands on it right now, and this is well out of my capability, and I'm fine with that. But I can get, I do get some purchase on it, but it would require a considerable amount of strength. There's no mechanical advantage with my hand on this. This would just be pure brute strength. There's not much finger contact. So this would be it would be quite a deal to pull that off. You're barely getting it's right on the ragged edge of abilities for somebody, I think.
Well, that's what I mean. A long enough time to get some surface area, to get some squeeze on the thing. I mean, my thumb barely goes down compared to the middle of it, and when I see Jedd lifting some regular blobs and Tanner, Jedd's thumb goes down to halfway down the blob. And I'm not picking on Jedd. You got to use the gifts God gave you, and the guy's phenomenal at lifting the blobs. He's an absolute phenom. So, but it does help. It does help, I'm sure, to have the bigger. Ode Haugen has massive hands, and Ode's great at lifting all the blobs too. Why? Because you've got a different. It's like picking up here. I'll use a heating analogy. It's like using the channel locks versus the needle nose pliers. The channel locks have a little more horsepower, a little more surface area.
Right. Yep. No, I agree completely.
Yeah, and so I don't have the channel locks for the Blobzilla, that's for sure. Now again, as I showed in my little video I made the other day, it may have even been on Christmas. Yeah, I think it was. Or 2 days, whatever. I lifted that 66-pound Jade blob. That's narrower. That's 108 millimeters. That's so a little 4 1/8 inches, and the sides go straight down. Well, since the sides go straight down, I can squeeze that thing a little harder, and there you go. I have the horsepower in my hand to do the 66 pounds. You spread my hand out wide like that, can't do it.
Right. Yep. Nope, that's exactly what I run into on the regular blobs and stuff. Yep.
But I will tell you, Tanner's thing, the guy's a freak. He's so good. He's so young. He's so talented. He's amazing. So
yeah, that was it was ridiculously easy. I thought, it didn't even look to me like that required any level of training. It was more like he got it and he lifted it kind of thing.
Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah.
So,
it's like, here's a way for me to just pick the thing up, and that's exactly what he did. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, I'd like to see him take a crack at the Blobfather. Why not? See how he does it there.
Now what's the difference in mass between the two, Alan?
Well, so that's where some debate comes up, because some of the guys have been weighing some of these Blobfathers, and it sounds like a lot of these things are coming in kind of light. This most recent batch. I don't know if you saw some of those things like what Jedd posted, for example.
I did. These F-140s, right? And they're like 60-something pounds.
Yeah. Well, I think he got I think there were 145s, and they came in. I could be maybe I'm a little off, but anyway, his
dumbbells were 145s, and they were like 141.
Yeah. Yep. So they were running. They were running a few pounds light.
Yeah, but he didn't buy those for. He bought those for benching. He didn't buy those for cutting up. He bought those for bench pressing.
Right. But
But other people did cut them up. I saw that on the internet today on the grip board that these guys are slicing them up, and they were in the low 60s when they might have thought they were going to be about 70 pounds.
Yeah, so I think weight-wise, there's really only a couple of pound difference, actually. I think between like the Blobfather and Blobzilla is how I think it worked out. So I don't know what the physical size, as far as physical size goes, difference-wise, but evidently the weight difference wasn't as substantial as people were expecting.
No, but you know what it comes down to, and again, I'm a blob novice myself, but I think what it comes down to texture, and it comes down to the angle and the paint, and there's other factors involved just besides the sheer mass and but between the number on the scale and the number, and the measurement of the width, the texture, the paint, and all that is a major factor.
That is, and that's one thing where I think things are kind of loaded against these guys to a degree, is that even though things lightened up, did you take a look at that paint?
Yeah, it was like a
on
mirror.
Those dumbbells? Yes, those things look smooth as glass. Yeah,
so you leave it out in the Wisconsin winter, Alan. That's what you do.
There you go.
I'm sure if there's a will, there's a way. I'm sure people will figure out a way to either strip the paint off or sand it or do something to make the thing liftable. Well,
yeah, and I personally, I understand if people do that sort of thing, but I just don't think that's as it was intended. I would rather not lift it at all than deliberately go to make it liftable. I guess I just think it's just like, I don't know, putting tacky on your hands or something like that, to be quite honest with you. That's my opinion.
It's against the spirit of the challenge.
Of the lift.
But,
yes.
Yeah. But I think with these kind of things, I think all this recent talk has shown that these are, even though we say it came from a certain thing, a certain York this or York that, they all are different. They all weigh differently. And Gil's blob is different than Jedd's blob, which is different than my blob, which is different than, Tanner's blobs. And they're all different. Sure. And in a contest, they need to be treated equally as such. They're all different. So we have a blob medley. Everyone is in the room lifting the same ones, and you see who lifts them the best. It's not like a Rolling Thunder or a Crusher where it's mainly more or less the same thing. And we can get into debates about people tampering with those things too. But the reality is, everyone's in the same room lifting on the same device. There's one person who's going to be better than others.
Oh, sure.
But everything else is just for training purposes. And I can see why someone would want to rough the thing up just to even be able to lift the roughed up one is a major accomplishment. I mean,
sure.
They don't lift themselves, that's for sure.
Right. Yep. No
but
doubt.
I like your purist attitude, Alan. I love that. I think that's to be commended.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it is for that time. I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to have to get going. Unfortunately, it wasn't past what I was able to do. But so I guess we'll have to wrap it up until next week. Not sure what we're going to be discussing then, but
well, we can do an LA Fit Expo preview. We can talk about other contests that may be coming up on the horizon. I'm sure we'll figure out something for the next week. But why don't you wrap it up for the folks at home?
All right. Well, that's it for episode 38 of This Week in Grip. Everybody, make sure you like the video, share, subscribe, comment down below. I would be interested in hearing everybody else's thoughts on the women's Crush to Dust challenge. What they think would be some ideal numbers for that. I think the ladies hit it out of the park already with their choices, but I'd be anxious to see what people think, especially about the Rolling Thunder, because I definitely think that could be a bit of a source of debate. But that's it, and we'll see you next week, everybody.